guys, my name is Brittany. Welcome back to my channel. And today we'll be reading some contemporary romance.
It's Brittany, bitch.
So this reading vlog, I'll be reading two different books by very famous authors. The first one is going to be Book Lovers by Emily Henry, and the second one is going to be Something Wilder by Christina Lauren. So both of these books are extremely popular and of course very, very popular author or author duos. So I definitely have higher expectations for them, but also because their synopses sound really interesting to me. I have both of these on audio, and I was going to initially wait for the books to come in from the library to just in case read them physically if I wanted to, because I really do like the option, but it just kind of seemed like the perfect time to go ahead and turn out some work this week because I know I have some stuff coming up that's busy. So I want to go ahead and just accept these on audio and just try listening to them on audio exclusively to see if I'll end up liking them. So far, I've listened to a little of both. I just haven't decided which one I'm gonna go forward with. But Something Wilder by Christina Lauren, this book is basically about our main character and her love interest who were together like 10 years prior. And now in the present day, she runs like an adventure group sort of thing where people can pay to go out and like act like cowboys for a week for a bachelorette party or for like team building activities, something like that. And he ends up going on one of those trips with his buddies and they meet again for the first time in 10 years and obviously rekindle their romance. And then for Book Lovers by Emily Henry, we have Nora, who's our main character, and her love interest, Charlie. They are rivals to lovers, and they're kind of in the same industry. I'm pretty sure that Charlie is actually an editor while she is a literary agent, and she is all about work, work, work. That's all she wants to do, and her sister convinces her before her next baby is due to go to like a small town, North Carolina, and like complete this list of things that she wants to do and kind of like strengthen their sisterly bond and just enjoy time off of work, especially for Nora. I like these books are a bit different from each other, even though their covers are like extremely similar. I don't know if anybody else has noticed that, but like I didn't even intentionally pick for that to happen, because I did not notice that at all, but they use like almost the exact same color palette for both of the books. I don't know which one I'm gonna get started with more. I'm kind of listening to both to see which one I'm gonna like continue on with. It's kind of whichever one like takes my interest, but I feel like it's gonna be Something Wilder right now just because I really want like an adventure-y thing, and it kind of seems like a fun adventure where they fall in love in like the desert and they're basically searching for like this treasure. So I'm really excited for that one. That one's probably the first one I'm gonna go for. And then Book Lover sounds more like a relaxing kind of read, like a small town kind of feel, like a Sweet Home Alabama sort of feel. So that's what I'm gonna go for afterwards probably. So I'll let you know when I do start Something Wilder, but I think I'm probably gonna get to that one first. So fun note, today my dad decided to send us some stuff in the mail, so he got us our favorite fruit snack. This green tea was on my Amazon wish list, as was this headache relief cap. This is incredibly heavy, and I guess apparently you can do this like cold or hot, and I really wanted to try it, so I put it on my list. And then he also got us this North Carolina candle. So these are like these really cool homestick candles that smell like home, and obviously we're not from North Carolina, but we're planning on moving there. And these are all of the notes. It kind of honestly just smells like fall. It smells really incredible. And then he also got us like a giant mound of beef jerky, the teriyaki flavor, because these are just incredible, and they will not stay organized at all. And then he also got Kalinka a whole bunch of these little catnip toys. So this is like a baguette. She loves these. Here you go, rub on that. And then it has a pretzel, piece of toast, the croissant. This is some kind of pastry. I don't know, like a sesame bun or something. And then this is a little cinnamon roll. And Kalinka so far is definitely enjoying these. And she rubbed on the pretzels like a good 10 minutes earlier. Say thank you to Grandpa. Okay, so let's get into Something Wilder, because I actually ended up finishing this today by accident. This was definitely an easy listen. I'm gonna give it 2 stars. I just feel like Christina Lauren is a very big hit or miss for me, and most of them so far actually been misses, to be honest. And the sad part is that I really wanted to enjoy this book because I really liked the idea of, like I said, the whole adventure thing and like kind of like a Romancing the Stone sort of book. I was really into that, and I still really like the premise. I just feel like, number one, I don't really like second chance romances, but I wanted to give it a shot because I really like the premise in general. But this book was mainly about trying to find this frickin' treasure, and it was like 2% romance. I just feel like this did not feel like a romance at all, and it just did not work for me. The book starts with Lily and Leo in love, and then, you know, 10 years later, we find out like a lot of things have changed between them, and kind of like in the first 30% of the book, we find out like what happened and why they like didn't work out. And then I just feel like the rest of the book is just treasure hunting. It doesn't really feel like we're actually giving a shit about the romance at all. And the whole reason they even meet is because after they've obviously like not known each other for 10 years, Lily has this company where she like takes people on like out excursions and like bachelorette parties or whatever, and they like go stay in the wilderness for like a week and they kind of like do like the treasure hunt. And it's actually like a fake treasure hunt. Obviously like they'll win something at the end, but it's not like the actual treasure. And then on this trip specifically, Liam is with like a whole bunch of friends for some kind of like boys trip, and then it turns into an actual treasure hunt, which interesting premise, cool. I like the setting of like the canyons and the Utah like wilderness, beautiful. Just really fell flat. I think a big part of that's because the plot was like absolutely fucking batshit. Like I feel like the craziest shit happened over and over and over, and it wasn't like just one weird thing, it was like a whole bunch of them. And this isn't technically a spoiler, but a lot of people are like putting that in the spoiler section of the reviews. But someone dies like almost 50% in the book, and they just like laugh about it. It is like such a serious thing, even though like we don't really like this character and you're not kind of like meant to, I'm sure. It just felt like so fake and contrived, and then everybody was like laughing about their death, and it was just so weird because like everybody in this is like not like a caricature. Like I can't like always put them into like certain categories, but they just felt like not like real people. It felt like we're watching a really, really bad like movie. It felt like we were watching like this, like a satire of a Western novel. Like it just felt like that's what we were watching. It felt like City Slickers, but like terrible with a really bad romance. And that's unfortunately what it felt like. And I think that's why I just didn't like love this book. I think like it was definitely readable and obviously for me listenable, but it just didn't really hit as like an actual romance for me, or even like a chick lit. Even though there was definitely lots of sex in here, I didn't feel a single sex scene. And for me to say that I would prefer something to be fade to black tells me they're like the sex scenes were bad, because they weren't even like bad. I just didn't feel anything. Like nothing connected me to these characters. I didn't feel for any of them. It just didn't feel like I was actually involved in the story. I wasn't with them. It just felt like I was watching a really bad Western satire like movie on Netflix. And then, you know, after you watch it, you're like, was that really worth my time? I think number one, it just has that second chance romance thing, which I just don't tend to prefer, because I feel like the problem I have with a lot of them is that we don't see enough of the romance before like they separate. So we don't really like get a chance to root for them. I think in their other book, Love in Other Words, they kind of did it better, even though I still didn't like that book at all for multiple reasons. But I feel like that one did a little bit better because we at least got like better flashbacks of like them when they were younger, because I just don't like feel the romance between them at all. It feels like almost like acquaintances. There's no heat, there's no passion. I'm not feeling anything, even though like they're telling me on the page there should be. Like I'm not actually feeling anything. And then they just pick up right back where they like left off, but like we don't get to see any of that, so I don't really like root for them, and I don't really care. I mean, honestly, I care for people in this novel that I probably shouldn't have, like her father. Like I feel like I care way more for this dude who's barely on page, just because I found him really interesting. And I feel like all the other characters were just so like bland. I did like some of the treasure hunting, but again, it was just like almost like way too over the top. I just feel like, you know, Christine and Lauren, they really took a chance with this book, and I can commend them for that. I just did not enjoy it. I feel like they really tried to make something fun, and they definitely mentioned that in the prologue and like not the prologue, you know, like the author's note or whatever. And they're trying to like let people know, like obviously during the pandemic, like, you know, they wanted to write something fun. Like they were so tired of like, you know, being with their families and being stuck inside. They wanted to write an adventure book, which makes total sense, but it just didn't work for me. That's it. And I surprisingly finished it in one day, which is great. I still have to finish Book Lovers. However, I'm 60% of the way into Book Lovers, and the problem with this is I really don't know how I feel about it. I think the problem with Emily Henry's writing in general is it tends to be like 3-star books. Like there's nothing like particularly special about her books, and there's nothing bad. Like she's a good writer. I just for some reason don't connect with her writing. And I think this is the third book of hers that I've tried. I think that's just something that I need to embrace, and maybe I just shouldn't pick her up anymore. But the problem is like she's very celebrated in the romance community, and I really enjoy like her themes, and I want to love them so much. I'm just not sure how I feel about this one. It just feels like this one's a lot more about our main character Nora and her sister Libby. I just feel like it's way more about their relationship than like the romance. I feel like Emily Henry really should write literary fiction. This is just my personal opinion, okay? But like I feel like she could really shine in that arena. I feel like romance is not something that she's like particularly good at, and I know that may sound really rude, but she writes like interesting characters. I just feel like when you put the romance to like the center of it, like I'm expecting a romance and I'm not really getting that, I just get disappointed, because she has good ideas and she has like good literary fiction ideas. I just feel like if she like toned her writing up a little bit and then took out the romance, like she could write like a 5-star book for me. I really like the idea of this book though. We have Nora, who is like the cutthroat literary agent, and she goes to Sunshine Falls, North Carolina with her little sister because her little sister, like, I guess asked her to, like a sister's trip before her like next kid is due because her sister is pregnant again. And I really like the idea of like them kind of like connecting this small town, and it turns out that the other main character dude, Charlie, he ends up being from this town and they meet while they're there. And there's been like a couple of cute moments between Nora and Charlie, but I feel like this book is still a little bit more about like Nora and her sister. I don't know. I just feel like the plot is a little meandering for me, and it's just not really, it's not really doing anything for me. I think the thing is that Emily Henry's good at like making characters, but like making a plot that makes me care about the characters is something that lacks. I'm just not really feeling, again, the romance, even though I do like some of the banter between Nora and Charlie, and like Charlie basically told her that her name is affectionately the Shark because she's, you know, such a bitch in the literary professional sphere, which I really enjoy. Like, I really like her as a character. I think that she, you know, obviously has like the older sister syndrome, and she's taking care of her sister her entire life ever since like she had to. And I can really appreciate that. I don't know. It's just like it's not hitting the romance vibe that I'm looking for. However, the audiobook is voiced by Julia Whalen, and she's amazing. So the audiobook's been like nice to listen to. I just don't feel like I'm like grabbing onto anything. I just don't really know how I feel about it. I feel very up in the air about this novel at this moment. Anywho, I'm gonna go make myself some teriyaki salmon for dinner, and I'll update you guys whenever I finally finish Book Lovers, which will hopefully be tomorrow at work because I don't have that much left. And I only have a couple meetings tomorrow. So I should be able to hopefully finish this tomorrow, which would be fantastic because then I can get 2 books done in 1 week. So I just got back from the gym and I'm all sweaty, but I had to tell you, I finished Book Lovers and I'm gonna give it 2 stars. I just feel like this reading vlog is just a 2-star reading vlog today, but just didn't work for me at all. I feel like it honestly got way worse past the 60% mark. Like, it wasn't even about Charlie and Nora anymore at all. It was about the Nora and Libby show. Predominantly the Libby show, because this bitch manipulated her sister into going on this stupid trip, and then when you find out why, I literally could have punted that bitch across the room. I just was so aggravated by this. I have no idea how this book has 5 stars from like everybody. I just don't understand at all. Again, maybe it's just because I don't connect to Henry's writing at all. I just feel like I can never fully connect, but also like Charlie has no personality traits as a love interest. Why does everyone enjoy him? I don't know. Not to mention, they are not rivals to lovers at all. It lasted for like 2 pages. Like, I am just upset too because I was expecting more of like the rivalry thing, but there's literally like 0 rivalry. And then I don't understand why the fuck Laura is apparently the shark, because I don't see any like bitchy emails or anything from her like that makes sense for it, where this is basically just us being told that she's a total bitch. And like, I'm not seeing that at all throughout the entire novel. And like, I was really hoping for more of like a hard ass thing, but she's more of like a tight ass. Like, she's more of like really in control all the time, but she's not like actually bitchy or like rude to anybody, it seems like, at all. She seems like she actually skirts around everybody and people pleases, which is a trauma response that she had from her childhood, which is fine. But like, I feel like the rest of the 40% of the book, dead ass, was just like in Nora's head, like recounting her past. Like, and I did not care. I didn't care in the fucking slightest. I can appreciate that there is a like happy ending that's not like a happy ending for most people, but like, no. This book was just so fucking boring, and especially past like the halfway point, like my interest just waned, and I could have DNF'd it. And it makes sense because when I looked at other reviews and I had to validate myself, they said the same thing. A lot of people DNF'd it like 73% or whatever. And I was like, well, no wonder, because it was boring as shit. Like, it wasn't even like worth finishing. Like, I finished the book and I was like, that's it. Like, I feel like the first half was actually like not that bad. It was like a 2 or 3 star. And then like the rest of the novel was just garbage. Like, I just didn't like it. Also, the sisters unironically called each other sissy. Didn't like that at all. I thought it was really weird and gross, and I just feel like even like watching a mom be like, oh, like go talk to Sissy is still like a little but especially like 2 grown women saying it to each other just like really gave me the ick. I just didn't like it. Basically, this book is about 2 sisters, and then there is a poorly done romance subplot. So if you're reading this for the romance, I wouldn't recommend. I just feel like Emily Henry needs to pick a fucking lane. Do you want to write literary fiction or do you want to write romance? I just feel like she needs to just focus on one of those things and actually do it well. And it could have been a lot shorter. I just feel like there was so much of this that I did not need to know. We were in Nora's head for so much of this. and it didn't really make sense why. I'm like, I don't care about your past. I don't care about what you went through. Like, I want to like know who you are now. It never connected for me. I was also really upset that we didn't get to like see her sister Libby like fix up the bookshop and like help the bookshop in town like become like better. Like, I really wanted to see like that kind of work. It kind of reminded me of the vibe of that book, It Happened One Summer, I believe, where the two sisters kind of like fix up a bar. Like, I was expecting that kind of a vibe from this once I figured out where it was kind of going. It didn't happen. You don't hear anything about it. You're literally in Nora's head the whole time talking about Charlie or her past or her sister and her sister's problems. It was so fucking familial. I'm like, I don't want to hear about your sister's problems every 5 fucking seconds. I want to hear about Charlie and know him as a person. I don't know this character at all. You could have put a fucking cardboard cutout and it would have been the same. I don't know Charlie at all. I don't remember the fucking dude. I don't remember his fucking name half the time. Anyway, I'm signing off, and this may be my last Emily Henry. I have not yet decided. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching this dumpster fire, and I will talk to you guys next time. Bye!